In an era defined by rapid globalization, technological innovation, and complex geopolitical landscapes, international companies are operating in a risk-saturated environment. To thrive in this setting, these companies must anticipate and adapt to emerging trends in risk management. Here are some of the key future trends that are likely to shape how international companies approach risk management. 1. Integration of risk management with corporate strategy. In the future, risk management will not be seen as a siloed function, but will be fully integrated into a company's overall corporate strategy. International companies are increasingly recognizing that risks and opportunities are two sides of the same coin. By aligning risk management with strategic objectives, companies can make more informed decisions. For example, when a company is considering expanding into a new international market, risk management will not only assess potential threats, like political instability or regulatory hurdles, but also evaluate how these risks can be turned into competitive advantages. A company might identify a risk, a lack of local distribution networks in a new market, and strategize to build an innovative distribution model, giving it an edge over competitors. This integration will be facilitated by having risk managers participate in high-level strategic planning meetings and contribute risk-related insights from the start. 2. Advanced use of technology, AI, machine learning, and big data, predictive risk modeling. Artificial intelligence (AI) and machine learning (ML) will revolutionize risk prediction. International companies deal with vast amounts of data from various sources: market trends, customer behavior, supply chain data, and geopolitical news. AI and ML algorithms can sift through this data in real time, identifying patterns and correlations that humans might miss. For instance, these technologies can analyze historical trade data, currency exchange rates, and political events to predict the likelihood of currency devaluation in a particular country. This allows companies to take preemptive measures, such as hedging their currency exposure in advance. Real-time risk monitoring. Big data will enable continuous and real-time risk monitoring. International companies can use sensors, IoT devices, and digital platforms to collect data from every part of their global operations. In a manufacturing company with factories around the world, sensors can monitor equipment performance, inventory levels, and supply chain logistics. If there is a potential risk, like an impending equipment breakdown in a factory in Asia, that could disrupt the global supply chain, the system can immediately alert the relevant teams. This real-time monitoring also extends to geopolitical and regulatory risks. News monitoring algorithms can scan global news sources for any regulatory changes or political unrest that might impact the company's operations in different regions. 3. Emphasis on ESG-related risks. Environmental, social, and governance ESG factors are becoming a central part of risk management for international companies. Environmental risks. Climate change is leading to more frequent and severe weather events, such as hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. These events can disrupt supply chains, damage production facilities, and increase operational costs. International companies will need to assess their exposure to climate-related risks. A consumer goods company that sources raw materials from regions prone to droughts may face shortages if water-intensive crops are affected. To mitigate this, companies may diversify their supply sources, invest in sustainable farming practices, or develop alternative materials. Additionally, as governments around the world introduce more stringent environmental regulations to combat climate change, companies must stay compliant or face significant fines and reputational damage. Social risks. Social risks, including labor rights, community relations, and data privacy, are also gaining prominence. In an era of increased social awareness and the power of social media, international companies are under scrutiny for their labor practices in different countries. A company with manufacturing plants in developing countries must ensure fair wages, safe working conditions, and no child labor. Failure to do so can lead to boycotts and the damaged brand image. Community relations are also crucial. For example, a mining company operating in a local community must engage with the residents, address their concerns, and contribute to the local development. Otherwise, it may face opposition that could halt its operations. Data privacy is another significant social risk, especially with the increasing digitization of business operations. International companies that handle large amounts of customer data just comply with different countries' data protection laws, such as the GDPR in Europe. Governance risks. Good corporate governance is essential for managing risks related to leadership, ethics, and compliance. International companies need to have clear governance structures that ensure transparency, accountability, and ethical decision-making across all their global operations. In a multinational company with a complex organizational structure, proper governance mechanisms can prevent issues like fraud, corruption, and mismanagement. Boards of directors will play a more active role in overseeing ESG-related risk management, ensuring that the company's actions align with its ESG goals and values. 4. Strengthening of supply chain resilience. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the vulnerabilities of global supply chains. In the future, international companies will focus on building more resilient supply chains. Supplier diversification. Companies will reduce their over-reliance on a single supplier or a single region. Instead of sourcing a critical component from one supplier in a particular country, they will work with multiple suppliers located in different geographical areas. This way, if one supplier is affected by a natural disaster, political unrest, or a trade embargo, the company can quickly switch to another supplier. For example, a technology company that previously sourced microchips mainly from one Asian country may start working with suppliers in other Asian countries, as well as in Europe and the Americas. Nearshoring and reshoring. Some companies may opt for nearshoring, relocating production closer to the end market, or reshoring, bringing production back to the home country. This trend is driven by the need to reduce supply chain disruptions caused by long-distance transportation, trade disputes, and border closures. A European clothing brand that used to manufacture all its products in Asia may decide to set up additional manufacturing facilities in Eastern Europe to serve the European market more efficiently and reduce the risk of supply chain delays. Supply chain visibility and collaboration. Advanced technologies will be used to enhance supply chain visibility. Blockchain technology, for instance, can provide an immutable record of the movement of goods from the raw material stage to the end consumer. This transparency allows companies to track their products at every step of the supply chain, identify bottlenecks, and quickly respond to any disruptions. Moreover, international companies will collaborate more closely with their suppliers, distributors, and logistics partners. By sharing information and working together, they can better anticipate and manage risks, such as coordinating inventory levels to avoid shortages or surpluses. 5. Geopolitical risk management as a core competency. Geopolitical risks, such as trade disputes, political instability, and changes in international relations, are on the rise. International companies will need to develop expertise in managing these risks. Scenario planning. Companies will engage in detailed scenario planning to prepare for different geopolitical outcomes. For example, in the face of potential trade wars between major economies, a multinational company can create scenarios that consider different levels of tariff increases, changes in trade regulations, and shifts in consumer demand. Based on these scenarios, the company can develop contingency plans, such as diversifying its export markets, adjusting its pricing strategies, or restructuring its production facilities. Political risk insurance and hedging. Political risk insurance will become more popular among international companies. This type of insurance can protect companies against risks like expropriation of assets, political violence, and currency convertibility in foreign countries. Additionally, companies may use financial hedging strategies to mitigate the financial impacts of geopolitical events. For example, if a company anticipates that a political crisis in a particular country may lead to a significant devaluation of its currency, it can use currency futures or options to hedge against potential losses, strengthening diplomatic and government relations. International companies will invest in building strong relationships with governments and diplomatic bodies. By engaging in dialogue with policymakers, companies can influence regulations in a way that is favorable to their operations. They can also stay informed about potential political changes and policies that may impact their business. A large energy company operating in multiple countries may establish a government relations team that actively participates in industry, government discussions on energy policies, ensuring that the company's interests are represented and that it is well positioned to adapt to any regulatory changes. In conclusion, the future of risk management for international companies is set to be more dynamic, technology-driven, and holistic. By embracing these trends, international companies can better navigate the complex global business environment, protect their assets, and position themselves for sustainable growth.